Hi, I'm Gemma, and this is Gemma Reads Scripture. Yes, I'm in a different setting at the moment. I'm at somebody else's house at the moment. Something different to look at for you. So today I'm going to read from the book of Matthew, and I'm reading from chapter 16, verse 13. Just unwriggle my little thing. After that, Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi. He asked his disciples, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" They said, "Some say you are John the Baptist, others Elijah or Jeremiah, or one of the prophets." Jesus asked them, "But you, who do you say I am?" Peter answered, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus replied, "You are a happy man, Simon, son of Jonah, for it is not flesh or blood that has revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. And now I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and never will the powers of death overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and what you unbind on earth shall be unbound in heaven." Then he ordered his disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Christ. So I'll just stop there. So there's a little bit of an issue in the church, and I suppose everywhere in the world for that matter, about leadership, isn't there? And a lot of people don't want to accept the leadership of Peter, and they say that Jesus was talking about an actual rock. So he said, "Your name's Rock, I build my church on that rock." Really, would Jesus say, I'm going to change your name to Rock, and I'm going to build my church on that rock over there? It's just beyond silly. But we do have a lot of trouble accepting whoever's in leadership, don't we? And maybe you say, "No, Gemma, I don't." But I think most people at some stage of their life, think, "Oh, that person in charge is they're a deal, and I could do so much better, but I don't want to spend the time. I can't be bothered," or something like that. So, we have to watch out for that. But I used to belong to a charismatic mass. Now at that mass we had people in charge of the various ministries, because a lot of people went to it, obviously being a charismatic mass. There was, a lot of people involved there. So Father needed things to be in order. If somebody was sick, there needed to be somebody to take their place. So he had somebody in charge of, the ministers of the Eucharist, the prayer ministry. We even had to have ushers because people would take the host and not consume it and hide it and take it away to use in a satanic ceremony, and so on it went. We even had things that happened through the week as well. So I was involved in a lot of different ministries for a while, and after a long, long time, I joined as well the prayer ministry. And we had a woman that I got to know quite well. I'm going to call her Geraldine because I don't think she'll watch this video because I don't have that many viewers, but just in case. So I'll call her Geraldine. Geraldine, like me, she was involved in all the ministries, and we became friends. And, she was a very holy person, spent a lot of time praying. She was there through the week, sitting in the little chapel, all of that sort of thing. But it always puzzled me how she was in the reading big team, because she had such a thick accent. It was like you couldn't barely understand a single word she said. Now, normally I'd have my missal and I'd read along with that. So in my case, it didn't really bother me. But if you didn't have a missal there, I think you'd really struggle. So I used to think, how did she get past the leader of the readers to become a reader? Well, anyway, as time went by, I sort of learned that Geraldine was not too respectful of the various leaders. And so I think she possibly, I'm guessing, perhaps being judgmental, but I think she kind of bullied her way into it. Because she came out, to be fair to her, she came from a background of rejection, and she had troubles in her background. And so I think for Geraldine, she wanted to be important. So she wanted to be kind of seen. She wanted to be the one in charge. And to be fair, she did a lot of things for the church and that kind of thing. But she didn't respect the leaders. So one day I was on the prayer team and I prayed for everybody in my line, and I had some burning need for prayer. So I went and joined the line for Father, which you could do for special things. And I have Raynaud, so I I know I'm outside in winter now, but I don't deal with the cold very well. So I was standing there in the middle of winter, and I can remember this long curtain going up and up and up to this high ceiling, and thinking, I don't know, is this breeze just somehow funneling down onto me? But I was absolutely freezing, and I was standing tight like this, just trying to keep myself warm and saying, please Jesus, make them hurry, make them hurry, make them hurry. Anyway, one at a time, the line went through, and finally I was the last one waiting. And then along came Geraldine. So she went up to this particular leader, who was the person, in charge of who could see Father, and said, I need to see Father, I need to see Father. And it was as if I wasn't even standing there. And I never said anything during this. And this little lady, she was just a gentle little soul, she said, oh, no, not now, he's had a long line. And she said, I need to see Father, I need to see Father, I'll be quick. And I thought, I've never known you to have a quick prayer in my life. You're not going to be quick, and why do you have to go before me? And anyway, so she bullied this little girl so much, or lady, that she went into Father and said, oh, can you see Geraldine? And through the doorway, I could see Father go, and he'd had enough of her by now. But he let her in. And Geraldine was always saying, I've got to peel the layers of the onion. And I remember her saying that over a period of about a year and a half, and thinking, the onion must be gone by now. But anyway, so she bullied her way in, and so I had to stand there for another, I think it was 15 minutes. And I thought I would just die of the cold. And all that time, I had to fight myself to forgive her and for doing this to me, because it really was terrible what she was doing to me, just terrible. And so, didn't want to be in unforgiveness and then try to be prayed for. That's not going to work. So please God, help me to forgive her, Anyway, finally I got my prayer with Father and I could go home. So there's another occasion. This is the other end of the Mass. This is at the start of the Mass. I remember saying to this fellow once, oh, Father's always late for Mass, isn't he? And he said to me, but have you ever seen him try to get into the church? He goes from the parish house across the courtyard, and he's like a celebrity. Everybody, and I was shocked at this. People would go up and tell him something, want to ask him something, want a quick prayer, all the way, and he couldn't just walk across. And of course, he's a very holy priest. So he's trying to be Christian, I suppose, and do the right thing, And so it took him a long time to get in there. Anyway, this particular day, I think I was in the sacristy because we used to pray before the Mass, and then I was about to go into the body of the church, and then I walked past the other end of the sacristy where there was another door, and there was a keep of the door there, and I think that had been arranged by Father. And this was another lady, let's call her Sandra. So Sandra was a real stalwart of the church. She was involved in everything too. She was very experienced in the things of God, knowledgeable, strong-minded, sure of herself. And she was standing there, obviously ready to do her job. And along comes Geraldine, and she says, I've got to see Father, I've got to see Father. This is before the Mass. So you've got a congregation of people, I don't know how to number people, but, a lot of people in the church. And she wants to be holding Father up. You see, not considering all these other people. So it's pretty bad, got a pretty bad stage now. And she'd grown used to being able to bully people. But Sandra was a new person. And Sandra said, no, you can't see him now. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. And I was sort of on my way into the body of the church thinking, I'll just walk as slowly as I can, stretch my ear, and I don't think Geraldine had ever been told no in her life. So I could, just sense her blood pressure rising. And she said, but I've got to see him, a bit more loudly. And Sandra said, no, you can't see him now. And maybe some other things she said to her. Well, I thought Geraldine was going, in fact, I think I might have stood there for a moment because I thought she's going to physically attack her or something. And I might be needed to help. And Sandra was well up to the task. She said, no, you can't see him now. So now Geraldine is yelling at Sandra. And I had to go. I couldn't hear the end of the story. So I had to sort of go into the body of the church. But I hope Sandra stood her ground because that was the right thing. It was absolutely the right thing. There are boundaries, And if I could just tell another quick story. I was reading a book once and there was a prayer minister who was always praying for their particular Geraldine of their particular church or group. Let's call her Anne and the other lady, Miss Jones. So Anne's just walking along the street and I think she might have been in a hurry to get somewhere. And along the other side of the street, coming towards her, is, Miss Jones, the parasite. And so she's thinking, oh, no, because she's prayed for this woman countless times. And she's thinking, oh, I just can't do this right now. Anyway, of course, Miss Jones spots Anne and she goes across the road. Oh, Anne, could I just have a quick prayer? Could I have some prayer? And so poor Anne's like about to pray for her because I suppose she thinks, Jesus died on the cross. This is just a bit of torture for me. And she goes to pray for her because it seems like the Christian thing to do, doesn't it? And God speaks to her and says, do not pray for her. She is a parasite and she is wearing down all of my servants. So Anne refuses and goes on her way. And I think God needed that woman to learn the lesson that it comes a time we've got to build up our own faith, pray for ourselves, be holy ourselves, read the Bible ourselves, and pray for the things we need and believe for them. But it does show you too that we need to have boundaries in life. We need to have leaders that we respect. Even if we think we're more intelligent or whatever, we need to respect those leaders. All right, I hope you're well and may God bless you and bye for now.